Welcome to Case Files. What is bioluminescence? Unlike biofluorescence, which emits light only when exposed to external light sources, such as this microscope, bioluminescence is a natural phenomenon created by a chemical reaction inside an organism's body. It's the same kind of reaction you see when cracking a glow stick, producing light with minimal heat. This fascinating trait can be observed in creatures like jellyfish, sharks, chameleons, and even some birds of paradise. But what about the flying reptiles of the past, like pterodactyls? Could they have this ability? Well, many credible witnesses around the globe have reported sightings of strange glowing flying creatures, what some believe to be living pterosaurs. Tonight we join Garth Guestman of Monster Quest in Genesis Park as he interviews Jordan Hendricks from Lake Wales, Florida. Jordan believes he's encountered these flying Ropens more than once, and during one sighting, he saw an eerie light radiating from the wings and body. So stay tuned as we launch an investigation to uncover the truth behind these mysterious creatures. But first, let's dive into a short story detailing an eerie account from Normandy Beach, Florida. This is Alessandro Guerra on the Ropen Network.
Though some consider Florida to be the perfect destination for tranquil living, it also boasts amazing habitats for Florida's most revered reptiles. To a few, the alligator may not be the most dangerous animal in Florida. Perhaps there is another, one less known, one mentioned by the locals in rumors and whispers, and one presumed to be extinct. It was the evening of October 27, 2022. Alessandro Jose Guerra was jogging along the shores of Normandy Beach, located within the city of Miami. Though the ocean's vastness always struck him with awe, tonight there was an added chill in the air, signaling the arrival of autumn. Alessandro had lived in Miami for many years and was familiar with the various wildlife in the area, especially the many bird species that frequented Normandy. But he had never encountered anything quite like this. Having just completed his run, Alessandro slowed to a brisk walk and made his way to a dog park overlooking the ocean. The city lights shimmered faintly in the distance, their glow merging with the velvety darkness of the night. He sat down on a park bench, approximately 6 feet from the water's edge, just to catch his breath. The soothing sound of his favorite playlist played softly through his headphones, blending with the rhythmic crashes of the waves. A few minutes passed in peaceful solitude, but just as the calm of the evening settled in, something moved in the corner of his eye. A large, dark mass soared low across the water. From right to left, presumably east to west. At first, Alessandro dismissed it, shrugging it off as some kind of bird or trick of the light. Then it came again. The shadow reappeared, this time illuminated briefly by the ambient glow from the city, closer to the water. This wasn't a bird. Something primal stirred in the pit of Alessandro's stomach. He couldn't tear his eyes away as the shape grew clearer in the shifting light. Alessandro's heart skipped a beat. What he was seeing could not be real. Two creatures, large, their wingspan nearly 15 feet wide, soared over the water with eerie grace. Their bodies sleek and reptilian, dark in color, their wings leathery and vast. They glided effortlessly, their movements so fluid. No, it couldn't be. His mind fought the reality of it, but there was no denying what he was witnessing. Pterosaurs, pterodactyls, also known as ropens. The creatures he had only read about in books, the creatures thought to have been extinct for millions of years. He leapt from the bench, sprinting toward the water's edge, his heart pounding against the ribcage. From his new vantage point, the creatures came into sharper focus. The pterosaur's eyes were dark and glossy, as though the creatures had dipped their sockets into the ocean's depths. Their smooth, leathery skin gleamed under the ambient light, their bodies sleek and menacing. Long, sharp teeth jutted from the edge of their beaks, adding to their terrifying beauty. They were Rhamphorhynchidae, a species from the distant past with long tails and distinct flanges on the end. In perfect synchrony, they soared off into the dark sky. The night swallowed them whole, leaving Alessandro standing at the edge of the pier. The encounter lasted only a handful of seconds, but for Alessandro Guerra, that moment would live on forever, etched in his memory, as the night he saw something no one else had, something impossible, something extraordinary.
So I want to clarify this again, right? So the first time they flew by, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. Due to us having so many birds, it's just like you don't even pay attention to them because they're all over. You know, you see pelicans, you see seagulls, you'll see the hawks, vultures. So I was just enjoying the view. You know, it was at night. You see all the lights, the city lights, and that already kind of illuminates enough for you to be able to, you know, make out kind of what's around you because there's kind of like ambient light. Next to the dock where they flew by and they came out of, on my left side, there's a little bit of light because they have a dock there, so it illuminates. The second time when they came around, I'm assuming they came around because, you know, I personally didn't see one single wing flap. It was just like they were gliding, and it looked like they were going in slow motion. So when they got to the dock, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But when I was looking there, about 5-10 seconds later, they came back. And as soon as they went under that light, I got 100% a clear image of what they look like. And that's when I drew the sketch that, you know, because that was exactly what I saw. I'm a very critical thinker because of my background and work. You have to be, you know, you're trained to be. So the first thing that I did was literally, it was just instinctual to run up to the edge and go look, to observe, because it looked like something I haven't seen before. So I ran up and I went to go look, and I was just I was just zoned in, interested. And your brain is automatically boom, 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 trying to rationalize what you're saying and trying to correlate it to other animals. And I stress again, nothing that looks like anything I've ever seen, or anything that I'm pretty sure people have never seen. You know, like you see the bat wings have. It was just very smooth and very, very sharp at the tip. You know, and it was just, you could see the veins and everything. It was insane. Like, I've never seen anything like that before.
The RRN Ropen Radio Network is brought to you by 511 Tactical. Always be ready. By Creation Evidence Museum of Texas. God's Word in 6 days. And by the Wildlife Safari, America's top cheetah breeding program. You are closer to Africa than you think.
Next, bioluminescent pterosaurs in Lake Wales, Florida. A one-on-one with Garth Guessman.
So, Jordan, I'm so excited to have you here. I understand you've had 4 major sightings, and the first one was in 2012. Tell me about it.
All right, so back in 2012, it was like the end of summer, so it was like the height of summer almost. Um, it was between 8 and 9 p.m. I was outside and I was watering some new plants that my parents had planted in the front yard. So it was like I was at the front of the house. There was these like hedges that go alongside of the house, and all these hedges were at least like 10 feet high. So I can't see across the hedges. I'm just sitting there watering at the base of the hedges. And as I'm watering, all of a sudden I'm hearing this screeching noise off in the distance. And at the time, I just was like, it sounds weird. Like, okay, what is that? It's probably some weird night bird or something like that. But then it kept going on, and then I started recognizing this, like, that sounds similar to the hose nozzle, because so the nozzles that are metal, like when you barely squeeze them, that amount of pressure from the water makes that kind of screeching noise. It goes, "Rrr," that kind of noise. So I was making the noise, and then it would, whatever that was, would respond to me. So I'd go back and forth. I would do that for a little bit until I didn't hear it no more. And I was like, I didn't hear it no more. And I was like, okay. So looking up, I don't know, I just looked up, and then my neighbor's house, it was like this big dark mass just flew over my neighbor's rooftop. And it was like maybe like 10 feet from the roof. So it was fairly close to the roof. But then just looking at it, it was like it was huge, because it was like so from the house to the front to the back, this thing was at least the length, like half the length of that front to the back of the house. And I noticed, I was like, damn, that's huge. Like, but as it got over the house, and it was like clearing the back of that house, and was like heading to the backyard, I kind of lost sight of it, because like there's like shrubs and trees and stuff, so I couldn't see it. So as I was walking back to the backyard, I was like, I wonder, I don't know, for some reason to myself in my head, don't know why, but all of a sudden I was just like, was that a dinosaur? I mean, granted, I was 13 years old at the time. I was very much into dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. Pretty much my whole life, ever since I was a little kid, dinosaurs were everything. But I don't know, it's just I said to myself, was that a dinosaur? But like I had some knowledge of so I was raised Christian. So I had some knowledge of people saying, oh, there's dinosaurs in the Bible. There's maybe they're around when like at the beginning of time with man, there was dinosaurs around. So I was like, I had that kind of knowledge, but did not really any deep knowledge of the subject. So I don't know, just for some reason I said to myself, is that a dinosaur? So I went to the back of my house, and I couldn't see it anymore. Looked into my neighbor's yard in the back, and I couldn't see anymore. Both of my parents at the time were in the back of the yard, just sitting on the porch. And then I went to them. I was like, "Hey, did you guys hear anything like making a weird noise, screeching noise?" And they were like, "No, we didn't hear nothing." Like I was like, "Well, I heard this weird screeching noise." And they're like, "No, we didn't hear nothing." So that was just, I don't know. It was funny for me. I don't know. I still look back, and I was like, so funny as me as a kid. I was just like, is that a dinosaur? Just, I don't know, just the size of it, and then just the weird screeching noise. It just was.
So you didn't see any shape yet, but it still came to your mind because of its size that it may have been what you're thinking of, like a flying dinosaur. Even though we know that's not technically accurate, pterosaurs are not dinosaurs.
Yep, the size,
But
and
that's what you were thinking.
correct.
Okay, all right.
And
It's
just the
2012.
sound,
This is not your second or third sighting. This is the first sighting.
the very first one.
And you
Yep.
still had that inkling to think dinosaur. That's very interesting.
I know. I don't know. I still to this day, I'm like,
How
why
old
did
were
I say
you
that?
in 2012, roughly?
13 years old.
Okay, so you're a teenager. Okay, young teenager. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I interrupted you. Keep going.
So I don't know. Just I don't know the size of it, because like I said, it was only 10 feet from the top of the roof. So I could compare the size of this shadow mask to the roof, and it was like half the size from front to back. And then like I don't know, I think I would estimate it to be between 10 to 13 feet long. This is the mass of it. So it was kind of like an oval shape. It was like an oval shape,
It's
kind of
way
like an
way bigger
oval.
than any bird, right? I can see why you're thinking it's
Yeah,
got to be something else besides a bird. No, there is
because
no
like
bird
I
13 feet
Yeah.
from front to back. I mean, even there's some wingspans on the extreme lengths of the biggest birds can get to that length, but not from front to back.
But but the thing is, this might have been the size of the body because it was moving parallel to me. I was looking at it like this, and it went this way.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
From
I was
head
looking at the
from
side
head to
of.
rump or from head to tail, about 13 feet. That's
Mhm.
gigantic.
That it was like I've seen all the owls, I've seen all the vultures, eagles, cranes, herons, pelicans,
Yeah.
owls. I've seen it all because tons of times I've seen owls fly across the
That's
street.
right.
Like
You
I
don't you
don't
work for the park and recreations in Florida? So you are around outdoors and wildlife all the time.
all the time, all the time.
Wow.
So I mean lived pretty much in Lake Wells my whole life. So like I've been in that area for a while
Mhm.
when before I moved out of my parents' house, but like that whole time there's a lake literally 10 minutes down from us. There's a lake. So you see all the water birds and
Yeah.
all I mean
Yeah.
this is where this thing was heading was towards the lake.
Right, right.
So it was going to a water hole.
But I guess you don't have to go, you could go just about any direction and head towards the lake where you are, right? I mean, eventually
Correct.
there's a lot of water around where you are. How
There
close
is,
are you to
yes.
the Everglades?
Um, so we're kind of like central Florida. So
Mhm.
like the Everglades would be like more northern. So
Oh, okay.
if I wanted to get there, I'd probably be like an hour maybe,
Okay.
like if I wanted to drive there, but we're like smack dab right in the center of Florida. So
Okay.
technically the highest point in Florida.
Okay. And you still have a lot of different lakes around your area.
Oh yeah, there's lakes all over the place.
And I imagine rivers and streams as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like your first sighting was just a bizarre anomaly kind of sighting. You didn't really tell for sure if there's any wings to this thing, but it was definitely in the air. So you're assuming there's some kind of wings involved, but you just couldn't see them. Big
Yeah.
blob of black flying over your head. Now, do you have some illustrations for this? I think you were mentioning you went on to Google and produced some illustrations for us. You want to pull those up? So I see this is your illustration now. Tell me what you're illustrating here.
So this is right here. This little red guy right here, that's me. So this was my parents' house. So
You're quite the
uh,
artist, by the way.
a little stick figure. Uh, but assume this is dark. It wasn't daylight, but assume this was all dark, and
Okay.
then I'm over here by these hedges, watering right here, and across the street down here where my the neighbor's house was. This is where I was hearing the screeching, like off in this general direction. So this was like uh northeast. I was hearing
Okay.
these screeching noises.
Yeah.
So yeah, so right
That
here,
drew
that's
your
me.
attention. So you're looking over there to your neighbor's house.
I was looking, yeah, looking out in this general area because it was coming from this side.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, let's go to the next one. And then, so you could see, that's me right here. So then I see it fly over the house,
So
and
you
it's
saw
just
it
like,
fly over from your neighbor's house over to the roof of your house, and you're kind
so,
of by this tree here.
so I'm like right here, and it just goes like back to the backyard of this neighbor's house. It goes just straight back.
Right.
And like that's pretty much the best I could describe it. Like it's just like this oval mass, just but this from the roof where you can see the roof to the back, it was like half the size of this.
Yeah.
It's not really you can't really see it good here, but it's because it's like a wrong angle, but like it was half this size, but that was pretty big, like an estimated 10 to 13 feet. That's pretty large.
Pretty big. Yeah. You could basically see it's the size of a car. You've got cars in the driveway. It's about that size. That's
Yeah.
gigantic.
Hmm. So it was basically around the same time of the year, 2016, the the mid between July and August,
Okay.
mid summer.
Yeah.
Same, it was the same time frame, 8 to 9 p.m. Clouds was about the same. There's total cloud coverage. There was no stars, you couldn't see nothing, but the street lights and the city lights were illuminated the sky a little bit to that orangish glow. Um, but me and my dad were outside. So this is me right here, the smaller guy. My dad is the taller one. So
Okay.
this hedge, we were just trimming the hedge because we did a lot of yard work in the summertime because we had to keep up with it because it rained so much. But we were trimming this, and then all of a sudden, so across the street from us, in the northern direction, we were hearing the same screeching noise that I heard back in 2012. Exactly the same screeching noise, the exact same noise. And I immediately clicked. I'm like, that's the same noise. And I looked around. We were both looking around towards the north. And then what caught our eye above us was this dark mass, as you can see right here.
Yeah.
And I could tell from this angle being above me, it was long instead of this oval blob shape. This time I could see it had some wing structure to it. I couldn't really see it well as my like so if you could see there is the coach light here. I couldn't see that well because the coach light was like really pretty much in my face and it was like kind of blinding me. But my dad, he was more in the driveway, and when he looked up at it, he could see more of the wing structure. And his words to me were, they look like gargoyle wings. So the finger webbed wings, as gargoyles have. And it was like, that was just nuts. It was like two times. I was like, I seen this thing two times, and it was almost like the same pattern. This time it went over a house instead of my neighbor's house. So we had a better look at it. Well, my dad had a better look at it. But
And
exact
did you say that you had some bushes a little bit in your way and didn't see it as well as your dad? Is that, or is it just the glare of the light of the
pretty much
porch
the
light?
glare of light because it was like
Okay.
so it was like I could see this. I could still see the shape, but I couldn't see good details because that light was kind of blinding me. But
And
it was
somehow the glare didn't affect him as much for some reason, and he was able
well,
to see it. Huh.
he wasn't directly under. I was directly under it. He was like out in the driver more looking up.
Oh, okay.
So that's how he was able to see it better.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that is amazing. Now that reminds me of something else. What you just talked to me about, your dad said the back of the wings looked like gargoyle wings. So they had the webbing, the little tips and points, the the web. Now, Scott Norman in July 2007 is actually July 19th, a very memorable day for me. Kind of like you, you got certain days when you saw these things, you never forget the date. Me too. Scott drew this picture about he saw it at 2:30 in the morning, and he woke up about 9 o'clock and drew this picture. So this is very fresh on his mind. The body was about 6 feet long. From tip of the beak to the tip of the crest was about 4 feet. Um, the crest was about 2 feet. The beak was about a foot, and then you got the length of the head, and then the wings were about 5 feet apiece, or a little less than 5 feet, and add the width of the body as a total of about a 10-foot wingspan from tip to tip. But he said there was about 10 web and points on the ends of the wings. Now, did
Right.
you have another one in 2016?
Yes, and this one's a little more crazy. So
Okay, I like
I'm gonna
crazy. Let me hear about crazy.
I'm gonna bring up another image if I can find it. Here it is.
Okay, roll
Okay,
ahead.
this
So
is
where is
overhead.
your house? Point
So
to your house with your cursor.
so this was my parents' house right here,
Okay, gotcha.
and I'll just zoom in just a tad.
Yeah.
So this is the backyard of the house. This is the front house. So you can see this is where I was up front when I saw the other sightings, and this time I was in the back. So to set the stage, it was like I can remember this date to this day, August 17th, 2016.
Mhm.
That is always etched in my memory because this is just like one of the craziest sightings I've ever had. And so we went out to get dinner, and then we were heading back. So heading back around say 8:45, and when we got back, I was like, man, the moon's really bright and it's like super clear. There's like no clouds whatsoever. Maybe clouds in the horizon, but like super clear skies, it's full moon. And I was like, this might be a good time to set up my camera outside and maybe capture this creature again on my camera. And I had a trail camera. So I went outside, started setting it up. And then I had my youngest sister, second oldest brother, both him and the youngest sister were out with me. So I started to walk back to the house, and then off in the distance, I see this, to me, it looked like a plane. It looked like a very weirdly lit plane coming towards us.
Wow.
And as soon as it was getting closer, as right back got like above our house,
Right.
I was like right here where these trees were, like this tree line. Looked up. This whole flying creature was glowing. The whole body, the whole wings, the whole thing was glowing.
Did you see a head?
And I didn't see no head. I didn't see any tail. I just saw the wings and the body were the only things that were glowing.
Gotcha.
This is what I,
Oh, okay.
to the best of my ability, this is me looking up.
Kind of ghost-like a little bit there.
Yeah, so like, it was more defined. This is just me trying my best at Photoshop, but it was more defined than this. This is more like too fuzzy.
Okay. So that's just the limits you had. Okay. It actually had
yes.
defined, clearer look to it. Okay.
Yes. So the wing shape was, so like I have here is like pushed forward. So it's going this way. So it's like going from, so this was the house down here. These were the two trees next to the house, and it came up the house. And then as it got directly under me, I could see the shape of it and how the whole thing was glowing. So as you can see here, there's two little red fuzzy dots right here. The reason I put those there is because when it was off in the distance, I saw those two red fuzzy dots off in the distance, and that's why I thought it was a plane initially, because planes have those.
Yeah, it does have a plane-like appearance to it. Bizarre.
And the thing is, like, maybe this would have been like a drone or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
But the reason I say it's not a drone, because when it got overhead, it flapped. The wings flapped.
Oh, awesome.
And I was like, okay, this is no aircraft.
Yeah.
This is no drone. This is a living creature.
Wow.
A glowing bioluminescent creature. And as you can see, it was a full moon, all the stars. And one would say, oh, maybe it was a bird reflecting off the city lights, reflecting the moon. But no, this thing produced its own light. This was glowing. This wasn't, because I've seen owls reflect the street lights. I've seen other birds reflect the moonlight. And like this was glowing because when it reflects, you just see the bottom of it. This thing, you could see the whole thing, like the whole thing. And when it flapped, you could still see the glow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was reflecting. It was, the whole thing was glowing.
Yeah.
But it was really high. Not too high where I couldn't see too much.
Can you take a stab at it? Any way you could have thrown a rock that high?
No. This
was way beyond
high.
that?
I would say, rough estimate, 600 to 700 feet high.
Okay. So you're talking somewhere between a quarter and a half mile. Yeah, it's
Correct.
up there.
Yeah,
it's up there.
But the thing is, like, the size of it, I thought it was a plane at first when it was off the distance.
Sure.
So that's pretty big. So as it got to right about here, so there was more trees than this back then. This is like an updated version. This is like 2024 picture. So there was a lot more trees here. But as it got to like right here, it went out of sight. But like before it went out of sight, I clicked like 3 shots. I took 3 shots with my camera. I zoomed into this image here. And I don't know if you can see it well, but like up in the corner right here where my cursor is.
Yeah, really dark.
See that?
Barely
Yeah,
make anything
really,
out here.
really like, yes.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this was the only image. So out of the
Yeah,
3 images I took,
that
this was
has
the only
something.
one that had something in it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so I zoomed in on this thing. Let me go back to this one. Zoomed in, and this was what I got zoomed in. You can see it right here. And then I enhanced it,
Okay.
and boom, there's something there.
Now use your cursor and tell me how you're interpreting this. What is what? What's the beak? What's the wing? What's the body?
See, this has been the hardest part of all of this, like to assume like it's just not really. You look at it from like you could say, oh, maybe this was the V. See, this was the V of it that you saw the wings push forward. Maybe this little thing was what I saw, and then this was like a star or something next to it. But then when you look at
So
it
let me ask
darkened,
you a question. First of all, which way is it flying? Just orient me to this photograph. Which way do you think it's flying? I don't
so
mean
it
north
would
and
be
south. I
flying.
mean, put your cursor in the direction it's flying.
Let's go to, let me go, yeah. So this would be, so this is would be the corner. And so like the tree lines would be right down here. So if this was in the corner, the tree lines would be like here, and it would be going this way. So that's why I thought like
Leave your cursor where it's heading.
this way.
Oh,
So
you
it's
think you're
pointing
okay.
to where
It's heading that direction.
this way.
So that's the direction it's flying. Got it. Okay. Yeah. And then
So
to you, where do
this
you
was
think the
maybe
wing
the
is
wing,
and where do you
maybe
think
these
the
two
body is?
brighter. I think the body might be somewhere like right here. I don't know. This to me, it resembled a head, which is weird because I didn't see a head, so I don't know why that would. I don't know. That just to me it looks like a head because it's point going this way.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the two bright like dots right here. With the
Oh,
so like if you see on this other one, these are like very bright right here up front. Then when you enhance it, like these are the two dots. They're pretty bright. And there's two red fuzzy dots on the creature that I saw. So
yeah.
I don't know, like maybe the wings were like some of the wings are like right here. This was the edge of the wing, one of the wings right here. And then you couldn't see the other one because it's too far, but this was the edge of the one. And then I don't know. Do you look back at me? Don't know. Like,
Yeah.
could this be what this
So
was as his head?
put your cursor and I have kind of a jumpy screen. Put your cursor and leave it on one of the lights for about 2 or 3 seconds. Okay. Now
Oh yeah.
put your cursor on the other light for 2 or 3 seconds. Okay. And that seems to be the front edge of those wings.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And everything else, we just have to interpret it. Just trying to think through what everything else could be.
Yeah.
What
But
do you
just
think
like
the location is? I don't know if you could see my screen, but I don't think you can. This point on the bottom right, what is that bright point? What do you think that is?
this one right here.
Yes.
See, I don't know because I don't know. Is that the other part of the wing
Okay.
flapping? Like
Okay.
maybe that would have been, or like I said, maybe a head. I don't know, but I didn't see a head, so I don't think it would have been a head.
Okay.
I think this maybe it was a wing here. If you can see my cursor here, and then a wing here, like maybe flapping, and then you see the two dots of lights.
Okay.
But I know I just kick myself every day because it's like I had the shot, it was right over me, and just I'm just like sitting there, just like dumbfounded, and I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
It's difficult to interpret. I can kind of come up with some things myself, but you know, I might be misorienting the actual creature. This picture might show it from such an angle that I might be trying to impose what I think it is. So I don't want to, you know,
yeah,
speculate. I'll just go with what you say. Really cool, amazing though. And I do now, was this the first time? Were you aware that they could produce light at this point?
Yes, I was aware that they could produce light, but I only knew of they could produce light like
Flashes.
on their like flashes or like on their belly. Like a
Yeah,
little like that's what I've only heard of. I've never heard of anything about the whole wings and the stomach.
right, right. This illustration shows you dark wings, a head, and a rump, and lit up body. Very interesting. Now, that was just 40 feet directly above his head. He was in a lounging position looking straight up and saw this about 40 feet up. Very, very close. Now, the following night, his dad saw this. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
So he sees this weird black shape, kind of like what you saw, but more narrow, and it was swooping to the left. And then he lost it. And then he saw it again, swooping to the right. Again, it's on a different angle, but it's similar shape. And then he sees this double wing in a V shape, and the front edge of the wings flashed him so brightly that when he closed his eyes, he could still see that V shape. Kind of like
Wow.
looking at a bright light or the sun, and you close your eyes, you could still see the chemical impression in your eyes, you know.
Yeah.
So he drew this picture later. Well, actually, he drew this picture on the spot, and then he saw an illustration in a book which he traced. And then he said, "This is what I saw. It was like this pterosaur and the front edge of the wings." I said, "But you didn't see the head or the wings. I mean, sorry, you didn't see the head or the body or anything like that. You just saw the wings." He says, "Yes." So I took his picture and just took everything else out but what he said he saw. So it went from this to this, and he says, "Yes, that's actually what I saw, nothing more than that." And the light from this wing lit up the membrane in this wing and showed darker, uh, like the rest of the wing is translucent. You can see a little light coming through it from this
Hmm.
wing. And yet these places here were so thick, no light could get through. Let me show you a couple illustrations here. We have the Rhamphorhynchus pterosaurs, and they had tails. They were very dragon-like, but look, they had back sweeping wings. Um,
Hmm.
as least this was the way it's illustrated in by paleontologists. You also have, now that was a Rhamphorhynchoid, the tailed variety. This is the pterodactyloids, the short-tailed variety. Sorry. And there we go. The short-tailed variety, you know, look, the wings are more forward sweeping, similar to yours.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is a more backward sweeping wing, but it's more dragon-like, like maybe the lady saw. So both are feasible because they're both represented in the fossil record. We have the Rhamphorhynchoid with a long tail. We have the pterodactyloids with the shorter tails, or next to no tail. There is a short tail, but you just don't see it in these things. There is a tail involved.
Yeah.
Very fascinating. Now, did you see personally any more sightings after this lit up one?
Yeah. So I had like a couple weird things here and there, but the next biggest one was in 2022, October of that year.
Have you made
And
illustrations for that?
yes, I'll pull that up. That
Okay,
should have it right. And here we are. This is
cool.
the illustration. So let's go back to let me go back to another photo real quick. Let's just start it off.
Okay,
So this is historic gardens. Bok Tower Gardens is in Lake Wales. This is where, at the time in 2022, where I worked. So you can see the tower here, where my cursor is. So this you can see right here where my cursor is. Right, this is a road that goes winding up into the gardens. So at the time, it was on a weekend, so I was working the weekend shift, and I was checking the trail. So if you can see over here where my cursor is, there's a trail right here, like a gravel trail.
Mhm.
So I was checking these trails, and then coming back, I noticed above the tower, like right above the tower, where my cursor is, there was like these four giant to me it looked like birds from a distance. I was like, damn, those are huge birds. Like, so I drove up to the tower to get a better look. Um, this is the bottom picture of the tower. So,
Right.
and then they were like flying all around up top, like four of them. So this is the formation they had, kind of like a diamond shape. There's like one in the front, two right next to each other, then one on the back.
Okay.
But looking at these things from a distance, like compared to the tower, they were super large. I was like, whoa, they're huge. So when I got directly under them, this is what I saw. I could see their wings were kind of transparent. As I illustrated here, they were kind of transparent. Like I've seen other birds up in the sky, like cranes, um, pelicans, eagles, vultures. They're not transparent,
Yeah.
but these things had kind of a transparent wing to them. So I mean, just looking at it as like, I don't know, like I couldn't identify anything that any bird that I knew around the area, or any there, because there's birds that migrate to Florida. I've seen a lot of them that migrate. Like nothing like matched that. Because like we even have like geese that migrate, and I tried looking at the geese, but the geese have a way longer neck than this thing had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is not this is, but so I started trying to figure out the size because compared to the tower, it looked huge. But when I was looking up in the sky, you can see I illustrated a plane here as well to give like a size comparisons. So say a plane is in this high in the sky, these things, if it was that same height as this plane, this is how big they would be compared to that plane. So like roughly 3/4 size of the wingspan of the plane.
Okay. Really big.
Really
And
big.
so they had the translucent light coming through the wing. You had what you think was not trailing legs, but you think it was a tail, or did
Correct.
you? Okay.
No, I don't think there were birds. I do think there's some either a rhamphorhynchoid or some sort of pterodactyl. Because I'm thinking about like rhamphorhynchoids, they don't really have the long beaks like
Yeah.
pterodactyls.
Now, did you
And
see any indicator of either skin or feathers to this? Um, Sometimes you'll see little flares at the ends of the wings to indicate feathers.
no, there was no flares of any feathers whatsoever. It was
Very,
smooth. Like it
yeah.
was
Now,
like I've
seagulls,
illustrated.
for
Like it was
example, they're not going to have flared wings. Not all birds have a flared wing, and they are relatively pointy at the wings, at the tips. But it's a good giveaway if you do see it. I know a lot of birds of prey have the flared wings, kind of fingered.
yes.
But anyway, so yeah, you're going. You have a gut feeling that this is pterosaurs. They're very large in your estimation. They do have the general morphology of pterosaurs. So yeah, it's amazing. And this is daytime. So Jordan, it was a real pleasure to talk with you and to get to know your story a little better. Um, it's just fascinating to me, and also vindicating to know that the things I've seen, some other people have seen as well. Multiple cities around the United States, not necessarily the, congested. I mean, the open country areas. There are some relatively congested cities that are describing these creatures as well in flyovers and things like that. So really fascinating, and God bless you for uh, having the fortitude to come forward and sharing this. It's going to encourage others, hopefully, to do the same.
Thank you guys. Just thank you for having me back on. It's a pleasure to be here again. Just throughout this, all my life, just researching this, just researching everything, and just like it's just crazy to think that there might be some remnant of some pterosaurs still around with us today. It's amazing, and just we're not. This is not like taught really anywhere or shown anywhere. Like it's not mainstream, but it's like there's a lot of people seeing them. And why isn't people talking about it? Like, we should be talking more about this. And I'm glad that you guys and other channels like you guys are bringing this to the forefront and just like sharing this with people, because this is what we really need. And I don't know, just the phrase that I've come to make up through all of this is, it's one of the phrases I always remember. I keep saying to myself, it's like, the truth is not what you were told. The truth is what you
Yeah.
find. The truth is what you find. And that's, I stay to that phrase all the time. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and thank you, Garth, for having me and interviewing me. It was really fun.
For every encounter, there is a mystery, and for every mystery, there is someone somewhere who has a missing clue. Perhaps that someone is watching. Perhaps that someone is you.